What's up, everybody? Midjourney Fast Hours podcast. It must be Friday because we are back in the seat.
Oh, yeah.
Rory, Flynn, Drew Brucker.
Welcome. There's so much going on, man. It's like every time I open Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, it's like new feature this. NVIDIA loses $1 trillion that. I'm like, what the, like, what's going on? It's just insane. I don't even know how to. People are like, how do you keep up? I'm like, I don't. I just don't.
I mean, who is? I don't even know who is anymore. You can't. It's crazy. It is crazy out there. It's never been harder than right now. Even I feel like now is even harder than 6 months ago to stay up to date.
I feel lucky. I feel lucky that we just focused on something early, and then it was like, okay, well, at least this one thing has application for other things.
We already kind of built the muscle because, like, if you're trying to start now, it'd be very tough. Also, we do have a few things we're going to talk about today. Rory and I were talking. We're going to go into the new Describe feature briefly, show you how that works. Midjourney released that for the website. There is a nice little way to do that now. There's also something we've been working on for the past couple weeks, which is Moodboards. We talked about it last episode. We talked about it a couple episodes before that. Last episode, we really went super, super deep on that. So I feel like we shared a lot of value there, but also we've been, really, I guess, doing the work on our end to build mood boards that feel really high end, that feel premium, not just like inconsistent or questionable quality. And so we're going to go ahead and release a mood board package, premium offer, whatever we want to call it, to the community here probably next week. So by the time you hear this, it'll be the following week. And just kind of put that together for you guys and share some of the value that we found in putting those things together so you guys can go ahead and grab some of these things and put them into practice. So I've got, I think, 6 or 7 of mine that I've done. You've got 6 or 7 of yours that you've done. And we can kind of tease that and show you guys a little bit about like the visually the asset that we're going to put that in, how that's going to look, and so forth. And then lastly, I think we're going to get into office hours with some of the things that are still coming, maybe soon. We'll figure that out. Yeah. But there are some really good pieces of that sitting in on the last office hours. You and I think, took away some really cool things that we can share about what Midjourney's thinking with 3D, with video, with V7, and so forth. So we're going to get into all that, kind of bounce around a little bit. But before that, let's jump off. Like, what's happening over there in New York? I know you've had a crazy week with client work.
Crazy stuff. I had 2 corporate trainings this week, back to back, 2 days in a row. I don't know if that's a mistake on my part or not.
That's a mistake on your part.
I think so. I make them. I own up to them. I told my wife, I was like, this is cool, but also just I learn something new every week as to like what to do and what not to do. That was a hell of like there was Tuesday, I think I worked from 8 a.m. to 3 a.m. straight, just like I have to get this done. And it's, luckily I had a little float tank session earlier in the week. Bought it for my wife for Christmas. I'm like, well, we don't get any silence anymore or peace, so maybe we go into the sensory deprivation tank, see Jesus or something, for a little bit.
100%.
But felt like I went into a time warp after that thing. I came out and just started working for 4 straight days, and now we're here.
So nice little like counter to the burnout.
Dude, it is like, if anyone hasn't done a sensory deprivation tank, I if you have kids, if you're just busy, if anything, if you just want to like disappear for an hour that feels like 10 minutes, like that's the spot. It
does feel like 10 minutes, doesn't it? Like that time goes by really fast. So I've done it, I think 3 times total.
All right. Because I used to go like once a month because it was like the only place I could go and just get peace in New York.
I was going to say, it's probably really hard to find.
It's great. You don't hear anything. You get the earplugs in. You just lay in there. There's times where I felt like I've been in there for like a year, and times where I felt like I've been in there for 10 seconds. This was one of those, like, after the first 5 minutes, it was like the lights came on. I'm like,
did you fall asleep?
Yeah. No, I have, though, before.
Yeah.
I have, because it's so calm. But this time I was just like, I like to keep this sounds very weird. I like to keep my eyes open in the dark because your brain just starts to fill shit in. And like you can get really creative, like with what's going on up there. You're like blasting through the cosmos. It's really an experience when you get in there. But you come out with like ideas. You come out with like, or if you go in there with like some sort of like I need to work this out or I need to think about this, You get an hour to like a straight up. When's the last time you actually had an hour to think without distraction?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so hard. You have to be intentional about it now, right? Like whereas in previous decades or generations of people, like you didn't have to be intentional about that time. You just got it, right? Like if you're gonna go out and mow the grass, you get it. You get it, take the shower, you get it. But like when smartphones came into the picture, TVs came into the picture, all these different media outlets or
headphones.
I mean, you just
listen to stuff.
It's hard. It's hard.
What's funny is I see people walking on the streets of New York without headphones. I'm like, wow, you're really raw dogging it. That's rough. How are you walking 30 blocks without listening to anything and just thinking in your head? I'm like, either one, I'm impressed, or two, that's tough. It's like the people who just like look at the flight map on the planes and don't do anything, don't read, don't like watch. You ever seen people do that? They just sit there and stare at the flight map.
That's
the entire flight.
That's like a new thing too. That was like a little trend. It's like, dude, why would you ever want to do that?
Rather do it in my own.
I don't need bragging rights like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say like there are some flights, like if it's like a hour flight or something, 2 hours, which I've done plenty of those. Like I might just sit there, like I might just sit there and chill and look out the window. Like I love the airplane white noise. That is the best white noise.
Best. It's so nice, especially when they just close the cabin door and you get like that little drowsy feeling because the pressurization happens. I'm like the one who falls asleep before takeoff and wakes up like as soon as we're in the air, and I'm like, damn.
Are you?
I can't sleep the rest.
I gotta
of the time.
know. What seat are you? What kind of seat guy are you?
Big time.
Aisle.
Yeah.
Why?
I can't sit still. I get up and go to the bathroom to be by myself. Like
really?
People think I'm weird. I get up and go to the bathroom like 4 times. It's not because I have to go to the bathroom. I just want to go and like stand up and like be by myself for a little bit because I just can't sit there. The seats are uncomfortable for me. Like my back never agrees with the angle of the seats, no matter what. So I'm just up. I'm walking around. People probably think I'm crazy, but I'm just like I just can't sit for like. To me, the worst flight is like East Coast to West Coast U.S. because you're not leaving the country and it's still like 6 hours. And you're like by hour 2 or 3, I'm like, all right, come on, like I gotta.
Yeah.
I'm like that guy that's just like in the chair, like come on, back. Forward, hands on the thing. I can't. I just got to get up and move. So,
I'm a window guy.
I love the window when you get it. Like if I had to go,
I'll go out of my way to get the window. Because I like the idea of like you having that just little extra space where you could lean against the wall.
Yeah, better for sleeping by far.
Versus the aisle. I do like the aisle. Aisle's my second choice, and it maybe a little mood dependent, but like at the same time, the aisle. My thing is like people always smoke you when they come down the aisle. Like
100%.
you got a knee out there and that cart that that metal cart,
drink
that
cart.
food tray. Yeah, I mean your drink cart's gonna just smoke your knee or something. Like
Always.
I mean like so that's my thing. But yeah, I totally get it. I also not a big fan of the people that use the recline on the planes in front of you. Like
hate it.
Come on, man. Because if you do it, we all got to do it. You know what I mean?
Chain effect. Dominoes start to fall.
Especially if I got my laptop up and you're going to do that.
All right. So here's
Come on.
I said this to everyone. I flew Korean Airlines from New York to Korea, which is like a 16-hour flight direct. And that was the best uncomfortable flying experience I've ever had, where, 15 hours on a plane is not comfortable for anyone if you're not sitting in first class or business class or whatever.
Right.
But like the respect factor, so much different. Like when people were sleeping and then like they were coming around with food and they had their seat back, like the stewardess were like stern. They were like, put your seat up. Like, like be respectful. Like people are trying to eat here. Like you don't get to sleep while everyone's eating. Like put your seat up.
Love it. Yeah. And like put them in check, man.
No one made noise. No one was like your typical flights. You got people talking up in the aisles, moving around. Like it was silent for 15 hours. Like people were super. Like in the bathroom line, this was the craziest thing. I went to the bathroom. I had to blow my nose. I blew my nose for whatever reason. I threw it in the toilet, like it's not in the garbage because the garbage probably like overflowing or something. And like this woman, as I walked out, she goes like, "Flush the toilet." I was like, "What?" I didn't even realize that I did it. It's like it's just sorry. Went back and I'm like, man, get in line, Rory. Jeez, there's rules here. So cool though. Also, no one was really that big. So it wasn't like, going to Florida and sitting next to a dude that's like 250 pounds of muscle with like tribal tattoos in the middle seat, which happens to me all the time.
Does it?
Now. Yeah. I sit next to my wife. It's a running joke. because we sit aisle. Like we like to sit aisle so we can have like
that's cool.
access.
Like that.
Yeah. And then like she'll sit next to a woman that's about 110 pounds, and I'll sit next to the dude that's 300 pounds or just like jacked and huge.
Yeah.
I'm like, why the middle seat, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. Like we need y'all to be the early ones to pick your seats on the flight.
Yeah.
It's always you wait till the end, like that's the problem. But yeah, man, it's wild. I'm definitely like, I feel like you and me, we need to trade some more of those like burnout counters, the deprivation tank. Obviously I know a lot of the meditations. I actually just got a new steamer for my sauna here.
Ooh, you have a sauna?
So I've got like a stand up, like a mini one, right? Like not the $5,000 one, but like the $500, a nice stand up one, and you get this little steamer boiling machine that fuels all the steam in there, and it was broken for a while, and I just hadn't fixed it, and I bought a new one last week. I was like, dude, I need to get back in the sauna because like that space, right? Just sweat it out. After workout, right before bed, sleep better, or if nothing else, right, just like get that meditation sense of just no device in there. You literally can't bring the device in there because you won't be able to function the smartphone anyway because your fingers will be slipping off of it. So, just things like that, man. I got to get better at that because the burnout is real.
I have been doing this. This sounds like so counterintuitive. I am not above the addiction to the phone. Like I notice that I'm doing it, especially when I like sit down at night. If I even have an hour to watch TV or something, I put my charger purposely far away so I can plug my phone in and like watch television. This sounds so boring.
No, yeah, you have
to. It's like so I can like focus on something else other than what's going on my phone, on my notifications. Where, this isn't a humble brag, guys. We do get notifications from like social media channels like all day. I've had to mute those, but like I see the red bubble and it's like
I don't even put those on. Those are all off for me. And
I should turn them off.
And my phone's on vibrate always. I never have
Silent.
sound on.
Yeah.
And for sleep, I always put my phone in a different room. And I do the do not disturb like usually at like 9 p.m. on to 8 or 9 the next day. That way it's just like I don't even see anything.
Purposely plug my phone in like far away during the nighttime. I don't want to like wake up and check it or anything or hear anything. Also, my wife hates it because my phone's always on silent. So if she ever calls me, I'm just like, sorry, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I mean, but
oops.
I saw something funny too. It's like the evolution of ringtones, where it was like we would go out of our way to buy these cool ringtones, and now everybody's been using their phone on vibrate and silent for like the last 2+ years. So it's like you've come full circle.
Those were the best. Like I remember I used to like go nuts for the ringtones to try and like find the good ones. Not even to buy one, like illegally download them off like LimeWire or something.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There you go.
Give the computer a venereal disease, and then just so I could have like the thong song as my ringtone. Hey, we weren't above this. We weren't above any of it
at all.
That was the early 2000s. We all burned. How many CDs did you have, like blank CDs in your house at one single time? Like I always had. If there was one thing I had was like always a stack of 100 of blank CDs so I could burn music illegally.
Yeah, I mean I did. I was sometimes the guy that would burn the CDs, but I was usually just have my own stuff there. Back in that day, you had that whole like a briefcase of CD, slots for all your shit, and then you had like a car version too, right? For the car, it's like the fold down mirror.
Yeah, there was that was the best, like the little CD libraries. But there was a very short period of history with, I think it was like maybe the early 2010s when cars started being able to read like DVDs as CDs, so you could put like 400 songs on a DVD, and then like it would play that way. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I don't have to like, when you get to that, like, oh, I made this like sick CD, and it's like it has like 22 songs on it, and it's like doesn't fit. And I'm like, what am I going to cut? I don't want to cut this. I don't want to trim songs off this.
Yes.
It's fire. I was like the designated CD guy because I was obsessed.
You were the guy.
I was Napster, LimeWire. I was finding YouTube converters early on to MP3s to figuring out how. I was like, that was, sorry, YouTube. I know we got copyright issues here, but I was definitely that guy. That was most stuff I couldn't find CDs for. Like any of the house music I was listening to, stuff like that, I had to find it on the internet.
Yeah.
Didn't sell it as a CD. So it was like I couldn't take it into the car before aux cords. right? Like that was, you get crafty.
You do get crafty.
We got crafty back in the day. But
well, let's go into let's get into the meat, man. Let's get into the Midjourney stuff. We've got we've got the describe stuff. Maybe let's start with the mood board stuff. Actually, my computer's really struggling today. Let's go over here. So just to like kind of share this with you guys, Rory and I are putting together a collection of premium mood boards. So we've been really, as you guys know, going deep into this stuff, playing and testing with what works best. We covered a lot of this in last episode. So if you didn't listen to that, highly encourage that. We go into the difference between uploading, 1 to a dozen images all the way to filling it out with 100 images, the difference, what you should be looking for, tips and tricks, yada, yada, yada. But here I think what we're going to do is we're going to offer sort of like a hub for this so that we can already include some of what we've got. Right, and we're still in the process of filling this all out. We're also going to include some bonus mood boards as well, right? So we've got our premium ones. Think of those as like tried, true, tested, really proven out. Think of these as more like fun. They're still really good, I think, in a lot of ways. They're maybe just a different component to these. And then inside of each of these, we've got tips and tricks on how to best use that individual mood board, things to try, sample prompts, yada, yada, yada. And then the last part of this that I think we're thinking is really around continuing to add value. One thing that Rory and I do and have done with our Midjourney course, right, our guide, is like continue to make updates, right? It would be silly for us to not make any updates at all to something that changes so quickly. This is a great example of that too, where it's like we want to continue to give you guys good stuff once you've opted into this. That way you continue to experiment, continue to use new things outside of what you just got when you got it. All that being said, I think there's some really cool stuff in here. Like
it's fun. I was playing with yours a little bit.
I love this. I can't wait to like play with this mezcal one. That harsh, contrasty black and white looks super fun to me. The Japanese poster one I saw. We talked about the iPhone RAW a lot last time too, like just creating that super realism aspect to it. So I'm excited about this, man. I think this will be fun, and this just be like kind of like another offering for you guys to just like, keep you experimenting, keep you having fun with the tool.
I had to get into that Lake Como one when you did it. I was like, that's a vibe for me. I love the Lake Como style just in general, but having it as a preset now, very nice. So
yeah,
that's working on some other ones too. I've actually found that it's, for being really detailed and getting something that's very consistent is actually way harder than I thought. Like the mezcal one, for example.
It is super hard. Yeah.
Had to go really deep on the SREFs and like style weights and like getting different compositions and different things like that to get like a fully broad one that's tight at the same time, meaning you can put a lot of different prompts into it and it works and looks the same. Because, if you want something tight like that, that's what it has to be. Now, on the other end, there's some that are more like experimental in terms of like, there's a lot of different aesthetics in here, but it'll provide cool effect. So, it's a very delicate balance, and I like playing with mood boards.
There have been several instances where I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I get into it, and I'm just like, oh, this is fucking
crap.
Terrible.
Right?
Like,
yeah. I've had a bunch of
So
those.
that's what I'm saying is I think this, we really thought hard about how to curate the right ones and then experiment with the right ones and then give these to you so they feel, as good as possible when they're in your hands, right? Because I wouldn't want to use that if things are too inconsistent, right? And so the other opportunity in here too is I think we talk about, hey, these are the types of things that we've noticed and played with that tend to work best, right, with this particular style mood board. That's not an exhaustive list by any means, but those are the things that we already know should work pretty well.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about it is if everyone was watching last week, starting to bash these things together.
Yeah,
because that's really where the cool stuff comes out. There's a real way to like add some real visual firepower. I think this is for a very experimental group too, who's really interested in just like, I want to go and add 4 profile codes and 3 mood boards and see what I get. But that's the kind of shit too, that where you can find these little aesthetic, like, I don't even know what to call them, as like aesthetic signatures that mash really well together. I've found that doing this, that's probably the most fun thing I've done on Midjourney since, maybe the SREF codes when you could do multiple of them in one thing. And I was just like, oh my God, let me just hit it.
I mean, mood boards can keep you busy for a long time, right? Because you've got all the different ways that you can play with it. So you could just use the mood board. You can use the mood board with personalization. You can use the mood board with different personalizations that you've got, right? So then you can mash them together. So you think about all the different micro decisions, right? We always talk about that, but it's like, let me run, this one with motion mixed with every single mood board I have, because motion is more of an effect, right? Like, so you can stack effects with looks, right? And things like that. So it's just, the possibilities are endless.
I love it.
And it's a lot of fun, man. It's definitely a lot of fun.
And we're going to keep adding to it, We're always going to come up with, Drew and I are going to go, we catch fire, when these things come out, and it's just like you get addicted, and it's like, well, what else can we do? Where else can we push this? That's just the way we are. That's why we do a whole damn podcast on it.
That's right. Yeah, we're almost 30 episodes deep now, bro. So 30 plus hours of talking about Midjourney.
Who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, really. Somehow it's 30
I think we did know. I think we did know when we started. We were like, dude, we could do this.
Without even trying.
Yeah, we could keep talking about this stuff forever if they let us. But yeah, this is so the mood board stuff's super cool. Let's switch gears. Let's go into Describe really quick too, just to kind of show how that works. So of course you had a couple things here. Let me share my screen. You had Describe as it worked previously on the website, which we'll just cover really quickly in case you didn't know, because it is sort of hidden, which is here. If you were to click this, gives you all your images. You can click anything you want. The Describe feature here is sort of hidden in this piece right here. You got to find the small eye, click that. This is going to generate basically like clickable tokens or phrases that you can just add in, right? So it's like photograph a happy nun burning books in her hands, boom, boom, boom. I can add these, click, 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 right? I can just add that and hit go. Now, there are multiple combinations when you use that way, because it's really up to you which ones you want to pick and use. Now, the new way to do this that Midjourney just released is more of like a drag and drop component. So if I were to take, let's see, this and just drop this. So it doesn't matter what screen you're on. You could be Explore, Create, doesn't matter. If you take this, drop it in here, and you go to your Create page, you're going to see, and I already did this, but you're going to see these 4 options pop up here. And you can click any one of them to use that prompt. Or you can click this here to run all 4 of those prompts, right? So this is more like the Discord, use case in that sense, being brought over to the website. So it's just another option, right? Like I don't know that this is like a needle mover for me. I think there are just so many different ways to describe images now, right? Like there's the Discord way, there's the website way, there's this new way, there's the GPTs, which I know you and I use too. Like, it's not hard to create your own GPT to just kind of like put your stuff in a preferred format or structure or style to use. And I would say that's probably my go-to when I usually describe stuff. But yeah, I mean, this just provides another avenue, right? Another way to do this.
I always like Describe for finding the little tokens. Like that was always like my...
Yeah,
like,
there you go. There you go.
Like, why does it have Hasselblad at X2D 100C in there? You know what I mean? Like, there's probably a reason why some of this stuff is in there. I've always found the Describe function to be pretty useful for that, because it's like, what, if you run to do ChatGPT, sometimes it doesn't say anything like that. I've gotten way more unique cameras or film stocks from the Midjourney Describe, because there has to be some training data on it if it's out.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Like this stuff, right? Where you've got in the style of, and then also technology reminiscent of, right? Somebody. But yeah, like that's a good example of what you're talking about. Yeah, the cameras, the artists.
There's always like these little ones. Like if you put something more, something more like surrealist in there, too, you get some crazy stuff. I know you're really good at mining tokens from like the Explore page and stuff like that you find, and a few different ways that you search through them. But this is always how I used to use Describe, like for things I had no idea how to describe. Let's put it that way.
This is another one I did in frames, and I brought over to Midjourney.
I like that.
It says none, like spray paint and skate or die on this high rise. But
it's awesome composition too, dude, by the way.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Let's see if we can get, like, I'm trying to look for like some of those cool tokens that you're talking about, and
put something surreal in there, like something that doesn't, maybe not as photorealistic, like something that's a little bit more, something that's got a little bit more like abstractness to it.
Something crazy.
Yeah, because then it starts to pull out stuff like that you're like, what?
There you go. So like known artists,
Kodak Gold. Let's see.
I'm gonna refresh this. Let's see what else we get.
Upside down, like David LaChapelle.
Okay, maybe that's the thing, right? Like Discord felt like you got more, and I think that also coincided with where the model was. Mm-hmm. But like you got more of those like abstract, unique tokens that you just never even would have thought in a million years to come up with. Whereas this all looks like, if I thought hard enough, probably come up with all these. Maybe with the exception of the artist stuff, right?
Yeah, would never know who those are unless I go click through and go to their Wikipedia pages. But yeah, it's always found it to be like interesting for like really random stuff, like something like that. Like what type of effect is it gonna provide when you put that in? You know what I mean? Like is it gonna say like parallax or like paradox effect or something? Let's see. Mirrors.
This fashion photography captures an Instagram baddie aesthetic. What?
Perfect. Like that's a perfect one. Think about that. That's a whole prompt itself. Trending on Reddit.
What? Hadn't seen that before. Interesting.
Look at that. Same reflection. She's posing for how do they know she's posing for an Instagram photo shoot?
That's wild.
What kind of weird
Let's do this again. Let's see what else comes up.
Yeah. Let's see. One more silver sequins. See now I would take sequin because, you get a sequin dress, something like that. That sequin, I'd be like, all right, what can I play with sequins? Like sequins is a good texture to add to something.
Yes.
Even if it's non-related to clothing. Like now I'm like, oh, that's a good word.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good point. Yes. Because that's how I think, especially in the early days, we would really go about, experimenting. It's just like, oh, that's really neat. Let's see what this does. And then you take one piece of it and you build, right?
Yeah. So this one's recognizing it as a Kodak photo, which is interesting. Like there's glitch effect, you have kaleidoscope effect, you have their own unique personality and style surrounded by kaleidoscope effect.
Let me get something even weirder. I think I have, let me see if I have something that's like even weirder than that. Because I'd love to get into something where it's like really, maybe I'll take, I have a photo in my head that I've created that could work well. Let's see if we can do this. Let's get out of here.
Here's a random question while you're looking. I see orange there. Do you ever get the feeling that Midjourney defaults to like orange a lot of the times, like as a color?
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like I always get orange, like randomly a lot of orange.
Really?
I don't prompt for it a lot, but like it just shows up, like in a lot of things that I do.
So like, let me take something like this.
All right, perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
And I want to do it the old way. So let's copy this. Let's get in here. Let's click this.
That looks like one of those mood board prompts that I was running for the just the craziness factor.
Yeah.
Of it all.
Yeah.
Let's see, full body, otherworldly being.
Still nothing like crazy.
Nah, nothing like it used to be. I feel like it used to go a little bit more wild. Now I wonder what happens if you put it drop it in the box real quick. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, let's do both. Let me change. I'm going to change it to this one. Where was that one at? That was here. Oh, you know what? I got to copy and paste it. See, like, I think UX, this is kind of the beauty and pain of Midjourney. It's hard for new people to learn Midjourney because they don't make it super easy with the UX.
No. This one specifically, no one would even know is here.
I mean, you and I mess up all the time. Like, I literally have to pause sometimes, like, wait, how do I do this again? Because it's just like... Okay, so let's see if we see anything like super weird here versus like what we're going to do here in a second where we just like drag and drop it in. Nothing crazy. Iridescent holographic, but we've seen that a ton. Like we see all the time. Let's take this out.
Just like click and hold and then drag.
There we go. So let's take this. Remember, we got to go over to create for that to show up. So this is already thinking. I mean, I don't see anything crazy here either. But you would like look at this and you would think like there's probably some really interesting words that you'd have to use to describe that.
Yeah, I mean, just run all those prompts, see if you get anything even close.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is why I used to test. I used to test like shorten. I remember there was like a time and place where everyone's like shorten's the best, And it's like it takes out all the unnecessary stuff, and then I'd run it and be like, it just looks like a shitty.
Yeah, I never
version
really.
of what I did.
Yeah, I never really was a big fan of Shorten, but I did. I like the one interesting part about Shorten was at the beginning where they, would show you the weights, and I remember we talked about that, like how accurate that was. But at least you got like some insight. That was real early on, and sort of like deciding, oh, okay, like hierarchy plays a factor. Like, love this one. This is dope.
Yeah, interesting. Like it doesn't look exactly like what you created, but it created something pretty cool in itself. Like that doesn't look like this doesn't look anything like it, right?
And like this is also again one of those things where it's like, okay, now I've got the describe function. I can run all four of these. I could just change the personalization, the profile, or I could change the mood board on top of this and get completely different results too. So
it's
like,
interesting
I wonder,
that it came up like that.
Like, let's
try one more thing. One more thing before we do this.
Yeah.
Take it into editor.
Anything?
And just take that same image that we pasted into here.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll hit the suggest prompt. I want to see if it looks different.
That's an interesting idea. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see. Because this is and then you hit suggest. Where's that suggest prompt? Let's see. Maybe run that in the create and see what happens. I found this one to be pretty good. Like I actually like the ones that come out of edit. Like pretty. I mean, that didn't look like most of the stuff resembling. You have album cover in there. We have.
Let's put in the same aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Let's run this a couple times. Just see what happens. Yeah. So this is interesting. Yeah. I like this idea though too, right? Because this is another. I wonder how this is treated. This is essentially a describe, but it's not describe.
See, this one, I have a feeling like I've been liking that editor suggest prompt. Like it's had some really good stuff when I put stuff in there. For whatever reason, like these look a little bit different, than the last.
These are crazy.
Ones. Yeah,
like that one's insane.
Did the other ones have collage in the terminology in the tokens? Because it says a collage there.
Did this have collage in here?
The most recent one from the editor function did.
This one did. Okay, collage art. Yes, you're right. So let's take this out and let's see what the other ones say. We had this one. No collage, right?
Nope.
What about this one?
Rectangular holographic lens. Nope.
No. Last one. Nope. So yeah,
I think that editor one got the most dynamic
accurate
out of it.
Yeah, almost accurate too. Like, because I know when I use the suggested prompt, I never really go in and alter it because it's like
it's good.
It nails what I need it to nail, right? Because most of the time it's like, oh, I just want it to get the idea. That way, when I make the edit to like scale or change the aspect ratio, that it's going to go fill in the gaps the right way, and I never have to really adjust it. But this to me feels like a more accurate depiction of what was happening in the photo, even though it's different results.
Looks to me like a new mood board's coming from something like this.
Yeah, this is dope. Like this
I like it.
is crazy.
Yeah, that's the one thing that it's always been great with these sort of collage mood board design. I was trying to prompt the other day for like a detective's, like what's it called, bulletin board, like all the stuff. And like make that more of like a mood board style, and it came out pretty insane with some of the details. And I was like, put torn edges on things and like frays and like coffee stains, and it was just getting all of it. It's like, this is fun. I love
that.
This
is
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, because that's. I mean, I hadn't thought to go back and try the editor function against describe, but it looks like that editor.
I like that. I think that's a big unlock just in real time right there, because it's like we've used it, but we didn't really think to use it in that way. And I think that is an interesting way to use it.
Because I've noticed some of the stuff that I put in there, and I'm just like, that's really good. Like that's better than the describe prompts I used to get. Especially I
have no notes. Yeah, it's like it's great.
I'm like looking through it to find something. I'm like, no, I'm pretty much covering the bases of what I need, but. Yeah, that's interesting. Is that I kind of stopped using describe, honestly. Like I haven't used it in a long time.
I haven't either. Yeah.
It was mostly for like finding. We get complacent with our token usage. I think every once in a while, I am guilty of that. Of just being like I kind of have the same things that I'm liking and try to do every time. But there's some good ones, especially. The create page is so much better now. I will say not the create page, the explore page to me has gotten so much better. Like. I find stuff that I like on there all the time now. First, when I used to go on, I'd have to scroll for like 5 minutes to find like, oh, that's really cool. Oh, that's different. You know, now I'm like the hot of the week, the top of the day, whatever. Those to me tend to be really, really good now. And maybe it's because we did some ranking on it, but I found it to be way more useful.
I know. I mean, I know they haven't said that they made significant changes to what you see there yet, although that's been talked about as happening at some point. So like I would imagine it's going to get even better. But yeah, you're right. I think it's way more aligned now. Also, like if you are going about it that way, don't forget to use that like smart search within the search. So, you see an image that you like, click that search icon within it and then get more iterations of that version, right? So if you're like token hunting or you're looking for a specific style like that could also be a good way to utilize it.
I did that the other day for one of my Tulum images from the Tulum video I did. Faye is saying hi, everyone.
Yeah, she wasn't around. I was worried that she wasn't. Yeah.
She's here. I'm sure you can all hear her.
Yeah, she's here.
But I was doing it, and I was like, oh, let me run this. Let me just do the little search function, the smart search on my Tulum stuff. And I started going in there. I'm like, this looks like my aesthetic, but I know I didn't do this one. And I was just looking at it. It was like all like the same prompts. And I'm like, all right, people are playing with this one, and I like it. And then I saw some cool stuff that people were doing with it. So it's always fun to look and see, when you post stuff online, and then people take it and run with it. And it's like, all right, I didn't know that people actually, did this on their own. I thought they just like looked at it and said, okay, cool. But I was digging that. That was fun to watch where people went with the prompts while using a lot of the same elements. But it's there's other are we gonna sort of pontificate on? There's my SAT word.
I like it.
Are we gonna talk about what we heard on office hours? Because there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, let's go. Like I mean, I got them pulled up, but why don't you go ahead and start with what's on your mind about it? We can just kind of go from there.
I said this I think on the last episode where they don't really hype stuff, right? Like they don't hype things. When they do, it's really good. But David actually said that on office hours. I caught that when he's like, I don't really like to hype things. But they were pretty hype about what was going on with like 3D and video. I was like, all right, it went from no 3D to we're hype about it, and we're also hype about video. And the way that the approach they're taking, I think, with video and 3D is very, very interesting. Like the video side of it, where they want it to be more fun and less technical and more sort of creative. I'm like, all right, you know what? I would appreciate that because some of the other tools that I'm using, they are technical. They are sort of laborious in terms of that, like getting what you want. But I would love to see more of like if I could do like, SREF and image prompt with video kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like really take a lot of Midjourney functionality, like chaos or, stylize, like that kind of stuff, like applying parameters to videos in the same way that you can with Midjourney. Like to me, that would be really cool just for like fun creative output versus like super curated simple stuff.
Yeah.
Like that to me got me excited because like I said, I don't think he really boasts too much about stuff. Like they're always just like, yeah, it'll be out. We're working on it. It's gonna be good. It'll be done. So to hear them be excited about something.
Yeah,
like, okay.
that definitely sounded like the case. Yeah, that was interesting to hear for sure.
And the focus on storytelling, because that was where I think if you're lining up the reasons why people get upset with Midjourney, which I'm sure there's a million, but it's like consistent characters, consistent scenery, consistent objects, consistent things. They said it's like that's the focus, like moving forward, storytelling. We want people to like tell stories and create things here. So that was, I think we heard that character reference, like in their estimation, is a 4 out of 10 currently. I think it's pretty good. Expecting it to be a 9 out of 10, that's a big jump.
Yeah,
that's a big jump.
They brought that up. They also talked about, it seemed to be very specific to characters, and then you could use objects with character consistency, and we're not really sure how that's going to turn out, but it should work okay. But I started to hear more and more about object reference too within that, right? So like one of the expected improvements, even in the office hours notes here, I'm reading it, just object and character references, logos, mugs, faces, dogs, monsters. I don't know, just random shit.
Monsters.
Logos, mugs, right? Like those mugs is a perfect example of just an everyday object. Logo is really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just like there are more fine-tuned and specific things that apply to that would have to be absolutely correct in order for it to work and work well.
I loved that. I was like, these are like little things that are helpful that they're working on. The other thing I heard too was an update to the editor feature in terms of like smart select, which is what we've been like. If you're gonna add something to the editor, like I think it's already good enough. Outside of like really, I would like to input.
I agree. Like, what are we talking about with this advanced editor prior to what they've talked about with the idea of like 3D?
This was. Did he mention something? Did I hear this right about like layers? Did I hear something along the lines of layers?
Layers
I thought
was
I heard
used
that.
verbatim. So
Okay,
it's interesting.
makes me happy.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, like I don't need too much there, but if you give me something to play with on the layer side, I'll be like, that's cool. Thank you. Like foreground, midground, background, like that kind of stuff. If I could just play with that, I'd be great.
Also, they did reiterate too, like that this was stated, right? This for a long time was just us, I think, like hypothesizing about what this would be, but it's like capability for moving camera angles and reframing images is a major goal, right? Like that wasn't really explicitly said before, but I think we've been talking about that since we started this podcast. Was when we heard 3D, that was instantly what came to mind for us is just like the idea that you could have a good image, but turn it into a great image just by sliding a camera left or right 15 degrees, right? To get like this very unique or better angle for that scene. And that was explicitly pointed out there. And David, on top of that, pointed that out. He goes, I didn't see this before. Like he said, he's like, I didn't really understand this, but now I'm fully convinced that there are so many images that are created on Midjourney that could be so much better if you had that capability.
Totally.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, like that's 100%. Like that would be the absolute home run. And I think then it kind of comes down to, well, how's Midjourney sort of pivot on the idea that you're going to be creating less and less images, right? You can create less images now. You probably are, with the exception of when things like mood boards and style references get dropped, because those are such game changers and you want to experiment and those are very addicting. But in general, when you talk about being able to move camera angles, if you've got the right scene developed, it doesn't really matter the initial composition or the camera angle. So do you really need to run that 20 different times, or do you need a good enough starting point that just can be manipulated within the tool?
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. They did say they were considering some pricing tier options. That maybe that has to bake that into it, where they might need to charge a little bit more. They don't want to go too much higher on their basic tier, allegedly. Especially for video, they're looking at how they're going to price for that, which, I get it. I wonder what that's going to actually look like at the end of the day, because the 3D thing, very interesting. Like, it's a good point that if you just are able to edit however you want, you're going to generate X less images. I still think we'll probably.
But I think I think I maybe answered that in my own mind while I was talking. It's just, there's so many other cool ways to use Midjourney now that maybe that probably won't be the case. But you know what I'm saying? I think that changes the process to a degree, though. Like if I've got a certain scene in mind and I've got the elements present in there and they're lined up to a good enough degree, I can manipulate it, from there. I don't have to create it a million times. And I'm kind of doing that right now too with Editor. It's like, if I've got the subject, especially if I'm doing a face, if I've got a face I really like, even if the composition is shit, like let's just say they're deadpan center, I don't care anymore, because now I can just take that in Editor and slide them wherever I want, or I can change the aspect ratio. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I think it's a similar effect there. It's just like you can really turn good images to great images once you're going to have that capability.
I just wonder how that's going to work. I'm very optimistic about it, but I'm also very like, this could be awesome in theory and then like just not great in practice. Like, Patchwork seemed like great in theory before we actually got on there and heard about it. And then it was like, I went to try it and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell to do here. Like, I got to go through a portal to get to like a world.
Yeah.
That's what's going on here. So I hope they make it, Patchwork is the only thing that I think I've been like,
flopped.
Yeah. I'm like, not like, Editor, when it came out, it was like, that's exactly how we wanted it. Like,
that was what that was the one that it was like, we basically laid that plan out. We were just like, yo, Like talk about creating in layers, talk about creating in painful steps, right? Like you had to zoom, pan, change aspect ratio. Like you had to do all these things that would have taken you like 5 or 6 re-rolls just to go through that. And now you can do it in one, right? And it's just like, damn.
And I think it's good. Like I use it all the time, the editor now. Like I used to not use it that much, but now I'm just like, instead of trying to do certain things, I'm just like, let me get in there and just play around, because you can get some really cool stuff, especially like when you're playing with mood boards now and have those attached in terms of like your editor images. Like I've just been getting, like when you expand or you like you shift the perspective around, erase some parts of the areas, you get some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
With the mood boards attached to it.
The one thing I would love to see get better, and I think will get better, likely because of the way it has to be developed with 3D, is when you do drag and move something around with that editor, if you leave too much space on left, right, top, or bottom, you start to get the weird stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, if I've got, somebody dead center and I want to move them all the way to that bottom right or the right side of the frame and fill in too much space, I got to run it several times on the re-roll, or like get to a good enough spot where it's like, okay, this is better now. There's just this piece that I need to clean up now and paint that out and then generate it, right? Like you just still get the weird stuff, which, just extends it's kind of painful to go through, but it's much better than it was.
It is much better than it was, and I do appreciate especially this now, like this little suggest prompt thing, which has seemed to be working very well, seemingly. It can do some cool stuff. But like I said, the other thing I was like interested in, there was one thing he said on Office Hours that he keeps saying, he's like, people keep thinking of us as like a product company. We're like a research company. So we're doing a lot of things. Like you don't know what we're doing. And, the secret projects, who knows what the hell they are. But I guess that didn't really land for me until now, when he was like, he also kind of like poo-pooed Patchwork a little bit, which I was like, okay, they're like self-aware that was kind of a flop. And he's like, it's part of our research. Like, so they are probably doing some really cool stuff, like in regards to that has nothing to do.
Yeah, remember they hired they hired a hardware team. Haven't heard nothing on hardware in a while, which means that they're working on something with there. So what's that? And then the video component, that was the other part that I think you were just kind of touching on, but we didn't really go into much detail into, which was David talked a lot about the video model, and there is going to be this sort of like, they're in this dilemma, right? Because it's like, if you want to create a really good video model, it's going to be expensive. They're not VC backed.
Super.
How much are people going to pay for that, right? And then also looking at their existing user base, a lot of people are still on those lower tier plans. Like there are crazy motherfuckers like us out there for sure. But, for the most part, it's like people on the $10 or the $30 plan, which is okay. But that you've got to factor that in from the business standpoint of thinking, okay, well, how much are people going to pay for video? Because we're going to eat the cost on video, and it needs to pay itself back, right? This isn't VC funded, so you can't just burn the money. It doesn't matter. So that part of it is interesting, because it's like, I don't think they're going to roll out video just to roll out video if it's not up to a certain standard. They're not going to do that. No. So yeah, I think that sounded like something that they're still trying to figure out. I think for me, like how much would you pay? Let's say, based on what we know about, it was a Veo, and Sora, and just like the top of the line video right now, let's say it was better than that. How much would you pay a month? Like a range,
like whatever the normal payment is for the the $10, $20 a month. I'll pay for that. I'm already giving them give them enough money throughout the course of the year. But like I have now access to Google, to Veo. It's incredible. I don't know how, from a realism standpoint, no one's competing, because it's way too tightly trained on way more data than anybody else probably has from YouTube. Like I'm working on a little video with it right now. I'm like, I could pass this thing off 100%. Like I sent it to my friends the other day, and they were like, this is AI. Like, not even like, they were like, no, really, like we're trying to find stuff. I'm telling you, that one's crazy. Now there's different uses, right? Like I like it for that purpose of it, but also can it have a creative capability that Midjourney can have? No, probably not. But I wonder if they're going to go, like they said, they've been talking about a number of different ways to do this. Are they going to go the open source route? Are they going to use Hunyan or however the hell you say it and train their own model off the back of an open source model? I don't know.
Sounded like something
about partnering. Yeah. So I don't know how it would be. I think it would depend on if I would use it. Like if it's good and it's fun, like they said, and it has like.
But
all
let's say it's
options.
the best.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's the best.
Oh yeah.
How much would you pay per month for good video? I'm just curious. I think this is like interesting conversation.
I'd double my subscription price, or I'm on the max plan. So
yeah, I think the same.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good. Yeah, like without thinking logically of whether that makes sense. Like that idea of just doubling it and having the highest quality. Yeah, I would do that.
I mean, I paid $200 a month for Sora when it came out, and I was like, let's see.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't anymore because it's good, but it's not worth $200. Like maybe another update, it'll be great, but right now, to me, for what I use it for, it's like not worth $200. So that's just my sort of opinion on it. I would love to like get a test run at it. I mean, if you're going to give us like a little beta situation like they did with the website, give us a little bit of time to get used to it. Like, you could charge me more if you gave me a taste. If you're asking me to buy it on blind faith, like double the price, like I did that with Sora.
Agree. Yeah.
And like that flopped, right?
Yep.
So I think, again, like I'm willing to pay more if the product is right.
Yeah.
I just don't want to go and, again, do the blind faith thing like I did with Sora and was like, God damn it. That was a flop for great. It's awesome. I love it, but it's way too much effort to like do that consistently.
And then we're going to see too, like this, then you've got the amateur video makers from people that are going to take this and use it in production, right? Like you and I are not filmmakers in that sense. So it's like how, like for us, what makes sense for us? Like I want something that's high quality, doesn't take, like there's not feature overload. It feels kind of light. I'm sure there are going to be some complexities to it, but I think there's a cutoff for that crowd versus giving too many controls and going too far for more of like people that are already filmmakers, people that are already producing, videos. Like there's that component too, is like, if you're the company releasing it, how far do you want to go with that?
Yeah. I'm interested to see how it'll look because it feels like all of the other tools are pretty much, they have like this very similar sort of like UX where it's just like, okay, like text prompting still really big. You have to have good reference images to get good, to get good videos. If you're going to do text or if you're going to do image to video, like I'm just curious to see if it looks different. Like if it is more so on the same way they've done with images, where it was image reference, style reference, have the different parameters for micro controls, so you don't have to you can have a little bit more creative balance than just do exactly what I say, which is what it pretty much is the other ones you're trying to get them to do.
That's right. That's a great point.
Because not like it's like when you type in award-winning photo in Midjourney, you could span the gamut and you can get really great stuff. If you do that on any other platform, you really don't get anything. It's just kind of like meh.
That's
the same thing with video.
That's always what we come back to, and it's always the point. Yeah, like that I think is a great point, and that's why like even sometimes with those video tools, it's nice to just let there not be a text prompt, like just blank one shot it, see what it comes up with, just to kind of like almost test its creativity. Where's it going to take this?
Doesn't do much, to be honest.
Right. I know that's what I'm saying, and I think that like could be super valuable, right? Like if you've got something that you can get great results even with just like no text prompt and letting it do its thing, that would say a lot about the tool.
Yeah. The only one that has it, I will give it its flowers, is Minimax. Like
I was gonna say it does pretty does
very minimal, and it'll give you something. It'll give you something decent. Like if you put something like that in Kling 1.6 and you just write cinematic scene and then put an image in, it'll look sharp and defined. It just like won't do much. Mm-hmm. Like Runway's the same way. It won't do much unless you give it some direction. But let's I would like that.
Let's wrap up with like the V7 stuff. There was the comment on last Office Hours 2 that they fell another week behind because of they found something else in training it. So now I think we're looking at last week of February.
March.
If I had to take a guess, yeah.
I just
but there's that component, which again, V7, the consistent characters. It sounds like as they're getting closer and closer, though, they have more and more confidence, specifically David does, with how good that model's going to be. Oh my God, my computer hates me today. It's going to be so bad on my side. I'm like freezing every 10 seconds.
Well, you're recording locally, right? So
yeah.
Back?
Yeah.
You're good. You're just a little blurry.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I mean, I like the thing with is I'm curious with V7, how different it's going to be. And I think now, as we've gotten closer to the potential launch date, we've heard more and more confidence around how different it's going to be and the quality. A month ago, I was on a call where it was just like, didn't really sound that exciting. You know, I was just like, well, what are we doing this for? You know, like the coherence is going to change. This is going to change. Like, should I be excited about this? Now, there's a lot more excitement being pumped in that I'm hearing, right? Like in terms of the quality, in terms of the coherence, in terms of the consistent characters, like several of the things sound super compelling and I'm excited about. And to your point, like David doesn't get overly hyped. He said that, but like you could tell he was hyped when he was talking about that.
Yeah. It feels like it's probably going to be pretty good. I would be, we're going to be like, we'll both, I think we'll probably have the same reaction as we had to like V6 and 6.1. Like the first day or two, we're like, and then like 3 days later, we're like, holy shit, you know?
This time, let's do something this time where it's like, when it launches, you and I just find some time. Maybe we'll crowdsource this too, but we could just like let's just get on a call and just like play around with it together. Yeah.
Just jam, see what we can do. Because I feel like I've done the same thing. Like for 5.2, for 6, for 6.1, I was like, okay. And then it took me like 2 weeks. Then I'm like, much better. Like it just, I guess we expect so much that it's like when the jump happens, it's like, okay, it's that good? I think
really that's right. Every time, too, it's like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
You know? And then you figure things out.
It's not like the video tool jumps, you know? Like the video tool jumps, like you get on the new model of what was previously, and you're like, whoa, like that is huge improvement. Midjourney, I feel like you got to go a little bit further than that because you could still just type, I feel like if you just typed in like dog on Midjourney without personalization, you'll still get that same illustrated style that you got in V4, like without having anything else. But like you really have to go down the prompting rabbit hole to find like where the nuances are in terms of like how's this aesthetic going to work?
That's true.
Can it control this? Is it going to be like more vibrant? Is it going to be more, are the faces in the background going to work better? Like, are we going to be able to control more of this stuff? You never know, but it just takes, to me, it always takes like 2 weeks to really
fix me the smush face. Fix the smush face.
Oh, please. No more smush face.
That'd be amazing.
Showing someone Magnific the other day, in the training, just watching
their
like,
mind
we have
get
this
blown.
Great image. I'm like, let's put it in, and then we turned up the fractality and just like wiped it over the face, and it was like perfect. They're like, what the hell? It's like, this tool's awesome,
amazing.
I love Magnific. But yeah, man, I'm just excited. I think like it's been so long since they've had a big model drop, but. These
6 came out December 23, right?
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
6.1.
6.1 came
July, right?
Okay.
It's like July-ish.
Yeah.
I remember it was that it was like that and Runway Gen 3 at the same time, which was like Runway that came off the coattails of all the Sora BS where there was like, then everyone's still using like these other models that weren't great. It was like, and then Runway dropped the 10-second generations with like all the crazy movement. And you're like, what the? And then Midjourney's like 6.1. So stuff tends to happen all in bunches. But we'll be here for it. We'll be talking about it. We'll be maybe going live for it.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah. Let's do that. Should we wrap this one up?
Let's wrap it up, man.
Yeah. I think we got a lot out there. But this was it's good. It was good to talk through some of the stuff. I think we're all just like kind of anxiously waiting. We're in that like purgatory period. So it could be, you could get that update next week. It could be here in a month, but we're going to keep focused on mood boards and just being a little bit crazy in the meantime. So
yeah, I would say that would be like, if you're using this for fun, I would recommend mood boards and the personalization stuff right now. Like, totally. Now's a great time to train a new model on your personalization and try to get some free hours while you're doing it. Also, the mood board stuff, I think, because it's not so black and white, right? There's so many things to figure out there. So the more you experiment with that, the more you're going to sort of understand how to best use it. So there's plenty to keep us busy. But yeah, I agree, man. I think for me, I got to get out of just the mindset of just like creating images and actually doing stuff with them too. You know, like, you know, not just saying like, this is upscaled now. Like, it's great. I'll use it when I use it. You know, like just going back to like that nun example and like something I put out last week. It's just like, I got to get around to like actually putting this into a final stage that I am really creating it for when I'm going through it, but I'm just not finishing up on it. So good time for that stuff too.
I like it. It looks like a poster. Maybe we'll make some T-shirts, guys, at some point. Not to just hawk merch, but maybe because we just want to give it a shot.
I think we got to do merch in 2025.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't like hawking stuff, but it's like if we're going to, you know, we just do T-shirts as a challenge. Like, can we make something cool? You know, like that's how I would see it. Is like, do people like this? Do you know?
Hell yeah.
I wouldn't go into something like that expecting to make $1 million. It'd be like, can we sell some cool stuff? Is it cool? Do people even like
I just think it'd be fun to see
Yeah.
people wear the stuff like publicly, you know, less about actually like anything with the monetary part. But I just think it's cool to turn like an idea that we talked about with the podcast, utilize the tool that we're talking about to do something that we haven't done before, which is like put it into something like tangible that you could wear. I mean, that's dope.
I've had that feeling before, by the way, when I used to be a T-shirt designer. So I had like, I remember
I had
one
a T-shirt designer.
Yeah, when I was more in graphic design, I was doing T-shirts for
we got to do
Network.
it then. We got to do this.
Yeah. So there was one I did it was like almost like a child's drawing style, like neon colors for Shark Week, and it went nuts on sales for some reason. And like I used to see people on the street with it every once in a while.
Shut up.
I was like, that's weird.
That's super dope.
I don't know what happened, why. To me, it wasn't a great looking one. I just threw it in there as something different to like suggest, and they're like, "Oh, we like it, whatever." Throw it on the e-com store.
Sick.
It was like our #1 seller for like 6 months.
Oh yeah, I think we got to do something like that.
Yeah, it was fun. But let's
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 wrap it up.
Reconvene on that idea too.
Let's wrap it up, and we'll be back next week. We'll figure something out. I think we can go in a couple different directions too with where we want to dive into. But be on the lookout for the mood board stuff, guys. We'll drop that. Also, if you've got other things that are on your mind that you want us to cover, always feel free to drop those in the comments anywhere, whether that's Spotify, whether it's YouTube, whether it's LinkedIn, wherever we're at. X. You can do that as well. And we're looking forward to it. We always enjoy these. Thanks for joining us. And Rory, what do you got to say?
As always, as is tradition, like and subscribe, please. Thank you.
There it is. All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Goodbye.